Alrighty. Testing. Okay, we got audio and we're live. Okay. Let's bring up Facebook. Alrighty. It's Friday night and we're back at the man cave. And I'm almost, here we go. I think I've got everything set up the way I want it now. I hope everybody's had a great week. I know I have. So it's Friday night and it's time for our beer. So this week I am having Full Steam Brewing's Paycheck Pilsner. This is a brewery out of Durham, North Carolina. Durham's about, I guess, 3 hours east of me. So we're going to get this guy going in the glass. That looks pretty good. It's another one of our yellow fizzy beers. Session beer, 4.5% alcohol by volume. Has a nice aroma. It's got a little bit of a hop aroma there that I'm not used to seeing in a Pilsner. So yeah, but it smells good. Nice and smooth, nice and crisp, like a good lager. You know, that's actually that's good. It's got a fresh hop characteristic to it. I didn't bother to go look up what kind of hops this beer has in it. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about beer. But if you're having a beer with me tonight, leave me a comment and let me know what you're having. Let's see. Well, the one thing I did want to talk about is I haven't really been paying attention to this, but a lot of breweries have gone back to cans, you know, where they've been using bottles in the past. Uh, I see a lot of this even with my local breweries. Why is that? Why are we using cans instead of bottles? Is it better, worse? Does it make any difference? I guess it keeps light pollution out, but most beers are bottled in dark bottles anyway. But I don't know. Maybe a can's better. If you know why uh, craft brewing seems to be trending back towards cans, let me know that also, because that's something I'd like to know. I'm wrapping up a 5-day road trip vacation. My wife and I needed to get away for a little while, so I took her on a world tour of the state of Tennessee. We went zoo hopping in Tennessee. We left last Friday. We drove over to Knoxville. We went to the Knoxville Zoo and spent a good part of the day there. And from there, we left and went down to Chattanooga. And my objective of going to Chattanooga was to go to the Tennessee Aquarium. I'd heard a lot of great things about it, which we did do. But once my wife found out we were going there, she let me know that moon pies are made in Chattanooga. So we went to the Moon Pie General Store, and man, I was in heaven. I like that banana double decker moon pie. I'll admit that that's one of my guilty pleasures. And so getting it there, man, it's a little different than picking one up at a grocery store or something. These things are markedly fresher and better tasting than anything I've ever bought locally. I don't know why. I guess some of the ones I've bought around here, they might be 6 months old, but these guys down there were fresh. So anyway, that was a good stop that we went to. And after we went to the Tennessee Aquarium, we drove up to Nashville and we went to the Nashville Zoo. When we were done in Nashville, we hopped on over to Memphis and spent the night in Memphis uh, and did a little hobnobbing on Beale Street. I was really excited about going to Memphis because one of my favorite places on Beale Street is a little restaurant called Miss Polly's Soul City Cafe. And the last time my wife and I were out there, I had the best chicken and waffles that I've had in my entire life. So I was going to have that. And of course, I actually looked online and didn't see anything about it. But when I got there, walked up to the door of this place, there's a sign that says closed until further notice. I was devastated. So Johnny didn't get any chicken and waffles on this trip, but we're going to go back. Like I said, when this COVID thing's over, there's a lot of things I'm going to do. But after Memphis, I didn't really have a game plan. I had left Tuesday open. So what we did, Monday, we left Memphis Monday afternoon and headed back east. And along the way, we were trying to decide what we were going to stop for on our last day. And we didn't have a plan, so we decided to go to the Jack Daniel's distillery in Lynchburg. So that's not really that far from Chattanooga. In fact, we basically went through Chattanooga to get there. And so we drove to Lynchburg, and or no, we didn't go through Chattanooga to get there. We went through Chattanooga on the way home. I can't remember. Anyway, we went to Lynchburg and went to the Jack Daniel's distillery, and we went and had a tour of the Jack Daniel's distillery on Tuesday. It was a tour called the Angels Share Tour, and once again, I was really looking forward to seeing the actual process of the whiskey mash, the fermentation, the bottling, the casking, or the barrel, putting it in the barrel. But COVID's got a lot of that closed down, so I didn't get to see all of that. So we're going to go back and do that again too. But the tour wrapped up with a tasting flight of some of Jack Daniel's top shelf stuff, and that's the reason I chose that particular tour to do, because we got to do a guided tasting of 5 really great Jack Daniel's products with a experienced taster. And the first thing I learned in this tasting flight was that I've never really learned how to taste whiskey. I drink whiskey. I always have whiskey around, but I've never really paid much attention to the art of tasting it. So he took us through tasting. We started out with the Jack Daniel's number 27, which is a specialty product that they don't make all the time, or they don't have all the time. I don't think it's listed as a specialty item. We followed that one with the Sinatra Select, and somebody told me that if I could get some of that to bring home, that I should. So I was going to look for some of that, but then we moved on to a single barrel option from Jack Daniel's, which was really interesting flavored also. And we're talking about quarter-ounce flights. We're just enough to get the taste of this stuff and get a mouthfeel for it. And the single barrel was really good. And then we went on to a single barrel proof Jack Daniel's. And then we finished up with a Jack Daniel's rye. I can't remember. I think the rye may have been a single barrel also, but the rye was not my favorite one. I like the others better, which Tennessee whiskey and American bourbons are corn. The corn's the dominant grain in those grain bills, and I really now, after going through that, I have a personal interest in learning to taste whiskey. So I'm going to be playing with that some, and maybe some nights after we talk about beer a little more, we might move on and talk about some whiskey. But after the tour was over, believe this or not, the Jack Daniel's distillery is in a dry county in Tennessee. They can't sell liquor there, but I can't remember the detail of the law that was passed or exactly when it was passed, but they have the ability on site to sell bottles. And we went to it's called the White Rabbit. I think they call it the White Rabbit Bottle Store. It's right there at the end of the tour, and I was gonna grab a bottle of that Sinatra Select because man, that is a fine whiskey. It really is. But they didn't have any; they were out. So I bought a bottle of the single barrel proof. And what this is this whiskey came all from one barrel. And what that means is when you buy Jack Daniels, when you go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of the Jack Daniels Old Number 7, that whiskey is they've taken all of the barrels or most of the barrels of any particular lot, and they've opened those up, and it's all mixed together for consistency purposes and then bottled. And when you have a bottle that's labeled as a single barrel, it means that bottle came all from one barrel of whiskey that's been particularly picked out because of its flavor characteristics. And when it says barrel proof, that means that it has not been diluted with any water. And on the tour, we learned that Jack Daniel's whiskey goes into the barrel at about 140 proof, which is 70% alcohol. And this particular barrel proof is listed at 133 proof, which is 66% alcohol. It's a higher alcohol by volume, but if you had been along this tasting flight with me, you'd see that it's really smooth. It's a really interesting game. So anyway, enough about the whiskey, enough about the vacation. I told you at our last live stream that I wanted to come here tonight and talk about pellet grills. There's been a lot of chatter in the Kamado community lately about pellet grills because Kamado Joe has introduced the Pellet Joe to the market. And I've had some experience with pellet grills. A lot of people that follow me for a while know this. I've had a pellet grill. I looked it up today. I got my first pellet grill in November of 2013. So I've had a pellet grill on site here every day for the last 7 years. And what is a pellet grill? A pellet grill, the typical pellet grill is a box-shaped smoker slash grill that has a fire pot in the bottom of it, and the typical fire pot is about it's not too much larger than this beer can. It's not as deep as this beer can, but it's about the same diameter, maybe a little bit bigger around. And there's an auger that feeds pellets into there, and there's an igniter rod that lights the pellets, and once they're lit, there's a computerized fan that keeps those pellets burning, and it's connected to a thermometer that's connected to the computer, and it feeds the pellets at whatever rate it needs to maintain the temperature you've set for this pellet grill. These things run in price from about $200 to $5,000. You can buy really expensive pellet grills, and the great thing about a pellet grill is that it's convenient. And the way I like to look at the typical pellet grill is it is an outdoor wood-fired oven. It's not like your wood-fired oven like my Alpha that we have outside here, but it's similar. It's an oven you can use for anything you want to cook out there. It's really convenient, really easy to use. The pellet hopper, you just keep the pellet hopper full. You have to maintain these things periodically by cleaning out the fire pot, which really should be done after every cook. And they're just convenient. They bring wood-fired flavor to a cooking system that's just real easy to use, real easy to maintain. Like I said, they're easy to start up. They don't require a lot of maintenance, and the pellet fuel that goes in these things is inexpensive. My favorite pellet fuel is actually one of the cheapest ones out there. It's I pay about $14 or $15 for a 40-pound bag, which is $7 or $8 for your 20 pounds, and it's really not expensive compared to charcoal, and it's clean. Pellets not dirt. There's a little dust with pellets, but it's not dirty dust like charcoal dust that gets all over you, makes a mess. It's easy to store. Uh, they come in plastic bags, but I typically cut my plastic bags open and dump it into a bucket. I actually have a couple of those Yeti loadout buckets that I keep pellets in, or you could use something as simple as an empty cat litter bucket or any cheap hardware store bucket with a lid on it. You gotta keep the pellets dry. There is no flexibility in letting a pellet get wet, so that's one difference. Your lump charcoal can get wet and it'll dry out and still cook, but not the case with pellets. They ruin if they get wet. Uh, the A lot of people are fascinated with pellet grills. I like to also think of it as the new gas grill. It's that easy to use, and it's opening up a wood-fired cooking to a lot of people who would have only bought gas grills in the past. Uh, these grills are insanely popular with people who want to get a wood-fired flavor with the convenience of a gas grill, and I really believe that's why pellet grills have exploded. You see pellet grills everywhere you go now. Walmart, everywhere from Walmart to your higher end grill stores. Everybody's got something to offer you in the pellet grill line. Uh, what are pellet grills good at? I'm going through some bullet points here that I made sure I wanted to talk about. So these are generalities also. They're not specifics, and these are my opinions. And everybody may or may not agree with these, but if you don't, that's fine. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you disagree with, and we'll talk about it. But in general, your pellet grills are great for cooking anything that needs to be cooked, roasted, baked, smoked at temperatures between about 225 degrees and 450 degrees. That's the pellet grill's danger zone. That's where they're good. That's where it's good. It does a lot of great cooking at those temperatures. Smoking butts, smoking ribs, brisket, whatever you want down on the low end. If you want to roast, if you want to cook a prime rib roast at 300 degrees, it's great at that. If you want to roast a chicken or a turkey up at 400 degrees or even higher, like I like to do, pellet grill's phenomenal at that. And I've made a note we'll talk about here in a minute about that. Actually, it's right here. I put a note here that it's phenomenal on poultry. It is my preferred way to cook whole chickens and whole turkeys, and we'll talk about that in more detail here as well. The pellet grills have good convection because there's a fan in there. Some of them have multiple fans. You've got one fan that's fanning the flame in your fire pot, and you've got another fan that's circulating air in the cooking chamber. So in most of these pellet grills, you've got a fairly consistent cooking temperature until you get up into some of the larger ones. I've run into some problems with some of the larger ones not being as consistent from one end of the grill to the other, but the smaller ones actually do a really great job. And some of the newer models on some of these do a very consistent job with temperature everywhere in there. So it's like a convection oven in a lot of ways. What are pellet grills not so good at? There's two things that most pellet grills aren't good at. That's high temperature cooking and searing. They're not designed to do those tasks well by the nature of the way the grill's made. There are some grills out here that have the ability to, they claim their searing ability. They've given you ability to do it. Some of them I know have put sear stations on the outside of the grill with an infrared burner or something to do that, which is fine, but the grill itself doesn't do it well. Most pellet grills are not going to be my go-to grill choice if I want to sear a steak or if I want to sear burgers or whatever, just because they're not good at it. These things are set up to cook over indirect heat. There's going to be a barrier between your food and the fire that's more than just a grill. Some of the pellet grills I've used have the ability to take that barrier away and sear over what they call their fire pot or their direct flame. and it works, and it works fairly well. The thing I didn't like about that experience was the mess I had to clean up when I was done, because it made a huge mess in the base of the grill. It made a mess in the fire pot, which needed to be cleaned up. That fire pot's got to be kept clean, or you'll run into problems. And me having to clean grease out of the fire pot area of the grill that I did that on uh, led me to do that just one time. I never tried searing on that grill again because of that. So searing on what I've had in the past is not the best thing. It's why I've got so many other better searing options, and I know it's hard for me to sit here and say that because I know everybody doesn't have multiple grills. I'm extremely fortunate to have the grills I have here, and sometimes I forget that a lot of people only have one grill. And if a pellet grill is what you have, uh, there are ways to work around the searing. I've done some video in the past where I've taken cast iron dishes, like a cast iron pan or a cast iron griddle, and let it preheat for a good while in the pellet grill. Or you can remove your barrier between the grill grate and the fire pot if you've got something like a cast iron griddle or a cast iron pan, and let that direct flame be underneath that pan and create a pretty good searing surface there that will not let all the grease and drippings fall into your fire pot. So there are workarounds, and like I said, we do have some grills in the market now that do better searing than others in the pellet grill world. Uh, so once again, back to the fuel itself. The pellets, the thing I love about pellets is there's a huge variety of flavors and aromas of pellet fuel you can get. The one that I use that I was telling you about that's so cheap is it's the brand name is B&B. I get it at Academy Sports. It's called I think it's called their competition blend, and it is a blend of oak, pecan, and cherry. And I absolutely love the aroma of that mix. It's all I use. I use it for everything. I'm not one who will go switch out pellets because I want a different pellet, a different profile on one cook as to another. I just use the same pellets all the time. But some of these pellet grills make it easy for you to switch out the pellets. My Traeger's got a pellet dump in the back. I can put a bucket back there and empty the pellets out of the hopper and put a new pellet in it. Uh, some grills have that capability, some don't. Some, it's very difficult to go get all the pellets out and put new ones in. So it's just the way it is. That's not a problem you have with charcoal, especially if you're using lump, because lump is lump. You just change whatever smoking wood you're adding to that. Uh, all pellets are not created equal. One of the things I learned early on in my experience with pellet grills is that when you want to cook hot in a pellet grill, like if I want to cook at 450, I better not use a pellet that's not going to allow me to do that. And what I mean by that is some of the fruit wood pellets, like apple, for instance. Apple smells beautiful. It's one of the best smelling woods out there when it's smoking. But if you have a pellet that's made out of 100% apple, your grill's not going to get that hot. You won't get it to its maximum heat, because uh, that wood's just not gonna. It doesn't have the BTU potential that some others have. If you want to go hot, you want to use oak. The 100% oak that's the one I've always had the best luck with when I want to get as hot as possible. Uh, the oak pecan cherry blend that I use, somebody gave me some inside information on that at one point in the past, and that blend is supposedly 65% oak, so it's mainly oak, and it's got 17.5% apple, or 17.5% cherry, 17% pecan. But even with that, I'm still able to get pretty hot. But every now and then I'll get pure oak, and it goes screaming hot. It goes really hot, and it does a beautiful job. So keep that in mind. All pellet fuels are not created equal. Uh, that's the end of my first page of stuff I wanted to talk about here. I hope I'm not boring y'all to death. So the pellets that claim to be 100% of whatever wood they're talking about, those are the ones you have to be aware of. There's a company out there called Lumberjack that makes some pellets that are pretty decent. They make they're inexpensive as well, and their 100% oak is banging, man. It works great. But they also make 100% apple. The 100% apple that I got from them, multiple bags from multiple sources, that's the ones I had trouble with getting hot. I had trouble getting hot with their 100%. I think they had 100% cherry. I had trouble getting really hot with that, but those are great for low and slow and medium temperature cooks. They just don't like to go really hot. They've so you know if you're having trouble with your temperatures in your pellet grill, don't assume that the grill is the problem until you've examined what's going on with the pellets you're using. So when it comes time to buy a pellet grill, this is something I like to tell people that I catch more crap for this than anything. And I like to generalize here and tell you that all pellet grills cook the same. You're not going to be able to tell a difference. If I cook a Boston butt for you on a $200 pellet grill and cook another Boston butt for you on a $2,000 pellet grill, you're not going to be able to tell a difference in the meat. They all cook the same. What makes the price different between the $200 grill and the $2,000 grill is the bells and whistles that come along with it. The inexpensive grills don't have as much cooking space as the larger ones. They might not be made out of, they might not have a lot of stainless steel components that are weatherproof. They won't have a Wi-Fi control, which everybody seems like they have to have these days. They're just simple. They got a dial on the front of the grill. You set it to 200, 225, 250. You know, you turn the knob to where you want it, and that's the extent of your control of that grill. It works great. It cooks great, but it's not going to connect. You're not going to get connected to the internet with it. They Some of the more expensive grills. I'm trying to think in my mind here. The cheapest grill, the cheapest pellet grill I've owned was $700 or $795. I bought the Traeger Little Texas Elite, which is it had like a 20-inch wide by 16-inch deep or 20 by 18-inch cooking grid in there. It's not a very. It was Traeger. I think it was Traeger's smallest grill at the time I bought that, and it's sheet metal. You know that's it's kind of enamel coated on parts of it, like a Weber, I believe. It's fairly weather resistant, but the grill's not heavy duty by any stretch of the means. It's got it's a grill that needs to be kept covered up. It's not a grill that I'd let sit out in the rain. Uh, some of the nicer pellet grills that cost a lot more money, I'd have no problem letting sit in the rain. My Traeger Timberline that I have here right now is a grill like that. I got no problem letting that grill get rained on because my pellet hopper's going to be dry. No water's going to get into the inside of that grill if it gets rained on. I have a cover for it. It lives under an awning. It doesn't get rained on, but it has been rained on in the past. I've got no problems with it. It can withstand that. It's one of the benefits you get with a more expensive grill. What other things make grills more expensive? There's programming capabilities. The Timberline not only allows you to connect the grill to your Wi-Fi network, the Traeger app and other companies have apps as well. It's not just this one. This is where my experience is. It's what I have. So they've got an app. You can bring it up. You can control the grill from your app. You can monitor it from your app, just like a temperature controller on your Kamado. It works the same way. You can do all the same things. Some of them have some really fancy tools where you can set up a stepped programs where I can put a Boston butt on and run it at 200 degrees on the Weber on in the Traeger on the super smoke mode, and after it's done that for a while, I can ramp the temperature up based on a time trigger or an internal meat temperature trigger. And when it gets to another point in either time or temperature, I can make it do something else. There's a lots of bells and whistles, but those bells and whistles are what you're paying for when you buy the grill. You're not paying for a grill's ability to cook better. Now, that being said, there are a couple of minor things where I think some grills may perform better in terms of cooking at the higher end of the market. And it's a real simple thing. It's really one thing. The old Traeger that I had, up at the top of the cooking chamber on one end, there's a L-shaped exhaust pipe that comes up a smokestack. It's up at the top of the grill. The newer pellet grills with Traeger, for instance, and some of the other ones, they've brought the exhaust down to the lower side on the back side of the grill where it keeps the smoke in the chamber better and the smoke circulates better in there for convection. I do think the grills with the lower exhaust port for the smoke do produce a little bit better of a smoke flavor than some of the other ones. So it's all about bells and whistles. It's all about what you want your grill to look like, how big a grill you want. There's a lot of variables and the price goes from down here to up here based on each of those features you want to add to your grill. The reason we're having this discussion is because of the Pellet Joe. I want to talk the Pellet Joe is really the only one I want to talk about specifically here because it's different than most other pellet grills. And I'm seeing a lot of really negative feedback in the Kamado Joe community about this grill, and it really bothers me. People love Kamado Joe, or the people who do love Kamado Joe, one of the things they love about Kamado Joe is the innovation. And I've been with Kamado Joe. I'm not with Kamado Joe. I've been a Kamado Joe advocate for a very long time, since 2012. And every time something new comes along in the Kamado Joe world, a new product or a new innovation, it's really entertaining to watch the social media channels and people say, they don't need that, it's a gimmick. They bark about this innovation and new product, and this Pellet Joe's taken a lot of that. I think maybe people feel they're not looking at this grill like I'm looking at it. When I see the Pellet Joe, I'm not looking at a grill that I believe is designed to compete with your classic or your Big Joe. It's an alternative grill. It's an alternate solution for somebody who wants the convenience of pellets, somebody who doesn't want to mess with charcoal. The target audience for this grill is a little narrow, probably. It's not as broad as the entire Kamado community, because I think there are a lot of people that have pellet grills. The pellet grill, in my mind, the general person that buys the pellet grill is the person who wants something that produces better quality food than they would get on a gas grill. And I think there's a small group of those who would move to the Kamado with the pellet fuel system. And I guess that's what we're going to find out. We're going to see how well this sells, and we're going to see who buys it. The Pellet Joe, I don't even want to call this thing a pellet grill. I don't even want to compare it to any of these grills that I've talked about here prior to this segment of the conversation, because the Pellet Joe, in my brief experience with it so far, this is not a pellet grill. It's not a pellet smoker. It's a pellet-fired Kamado grill. It is a Kamado grill. I don't want to call it a pellet grill. I want to call it a Kamado grill that's fueled with pellets. And I'm going to learn more as we go with this. You're going to see a lot more video content coming from me on this thing because I want to prove it out. I want to put it through its paces, and I want to see exactly how much I can get out of this grill compared to what I can get out of either of the two classics that are sitting on my patio now. And once again, it's going to fall into that area of searing and high temperature cooking as to whether or not the Pellet Joe can do all of the same things that the classic or the Big Joe can do. It's not going to do the searing. It's going to sear. First of all, the very first video I did with this was a reverse sear on a big ribeye. And it did pretty well. It did better than I would have expected it to do. And it did better than I've ever been able to do on any of the other pellet grills I've had. I was able to get the dome temperature on that thing up over 625 degrees, which means that down at the grill level over the drip pan, you know, I'm probably 100 to 150 degrees hotter than that. I guess I probably should have done a temp reading on the grill grate at that point, but I didn't. I just know it was hot. It was plenty hot to do a reverse sear. Excuse me. We're going to be doing some more searing on that grill. I've got some Half Moon grill. I've got a Half Moon grill grate from the Grill Grate company that works on my Kamado Joe Classic that I'm going to put on there. I believe that'll create a really nice searing surface. I'm also going to experiment with the cast iron griddle. I'm going to experiment with the soapstone, and we'll see how those pan out. And but like I said, this thing, the pellet, one of the other things that pellet grill owners are concerned with is pellet consumption. How fast does my grill burn through pellets? And I've had a big pellet. The biggest pellet grill I've ever had was the Yoder YS640, and that thing was a pellet hog. I could easily burn through 2 pounds of pellets an hour in that grill running it at 300 degrees. And the Pellet Joe, the pellet hopper only holds about 10 pounds. I haven't actually weighed how much I've put in there, but when I did the Boston Butt video on the Pellet Joe, I loaded it up as full as I could get it, and I let it run for 11 or 11 and a half hours before I opened the door again to look, and there were still enough pellets in there, in my estimation, to keep it going. I think I was running at 225 on that segment of the cook. I estimated I could probably go another 2 to 3 hours on that. So if we're looking at, 13 or 14 hours on a maximum of 10 pounds of pellets, that would be as efficient or more efficient than any other pellet grill that I've had to this point. The cooking chamber inside the Pellet Joe, first of all, we only have an 18-inch round grid. It's the same diameter as your large size Kamado grills or the Kamado Joe Classic. And then the dome lid. There's not much going on under that. You have a space about, 4 inches deep between the grill and the ceramic base there. So you don't have a real big chamber that you're having to heat. And the fact that that chamber is all ceramic, you've got the insulating properties of the ceramic. So it does not take a lot of your pellet fuel to keep that thing at whatever temperature you want to run. It's a pellet miser. It's going to use a lot less pellets than anything I've had so far. So yeah, it's going to boil down to whether or not that grill can keep up with a charcoal Kamado as to how well I can get my searing. The next video that I'm going to put together on that grill is going to be a pizza, and I'm going to cook the pizza probably at somewhere 500 to 550 degrees. And I'm going to put a pizza stone directly on the grill grate. We're not going to have any kind of special setup. We'll see how well that does, and I'm believing it's going to do real well. So this morning, when I posted about having this conversation, I asked for questions, and I said, if you have any questions, post them here, and I'm going to try to answer them on the live stream. So the first question I got this is always a question that comes from multiple people, and it's, why doesn't a pellet grill produce enough smoke, or why does it produce a minimal smoke profile compared to all the other grills? Okay, this is an answer there's a lot of things to say about this, and what I want to do to start answering that question is, I know people who have bought pellet grills who have never had a charcoal grill or a smoker. That's group one. And I know people who have bought pellet grills who come from some other smoker, like a Kamado or a Weber Smoky Mountain or something. So everybody I know that bought a pellet grill when they didn't have any grill before, or all they had was a gas grill, those people love the smoke flavor they get from that pellet grill. They love it. That's all they can talk about, is how they enjoy the smokiness they're getting from that grill. Now, the guy that's had a Kamado, or the guy that's got a Weber Smoky Mountain or a stick burner or some other kind of grill, his first complaint is, wow, that thing doesn't make any smoke. It doesn't give me a big, bold, slap you in the face smoke profile. And both of these people are right. The problem is, the first group of people, they're not used to smoke. They're not used to the amount of smoke that they're getting from a pellet grill. And the other group of people are used to a lot more smoke than they're getting from the pellet grill. So it's not really that the pellet grill doesn't produce smoke. The pellet grill produces smoke, and I love the smoke profile I get from a pellet grill. It's a lighter smoke, but I know you guys have heard me say this over and over again. For me, when it comes to smoke, less is more, and the pellet grill is always right on the money with that. But the nature of the way the pellet grill burns, you've got 100% pure wood fuel. It's not charcoal, and it's burning it works more like a stick burner than any other kind of grill out there. You've got a very small hot fire burning to run that grill. Even if you're running at 250 degrees, there's a very small hot fire in that fire pot that's keeping that going, and it's burning unburned wood, and that produces the cleanest smoke profile you can get from any system. There's no coal, there's no charcoal, there's no smoldering, or there's very little smoldering, and it's a high airflow environment. So coupled with a small hot fire and a high airflow situation, that's as clean as it gets when it comes to smoke. But there is smoke. The guy that's got a Weber Smoky Mountain that's got 4 chunks of hickory in there that are the size of this beer can, you can smell his smoke in the next county. And you can smell the smoke on that Boston Bud as soon as you open the refrigerator door, and it's in a plastic container in there. There's just different people are used to different levels. So I don't have an answer for you beyond explaining why people perceive the smoke from a pellet grill to be one way or the other. The next question I got was from La Derek. Which pellet grill is the best for searing or high temp cooking? And I think I've kind of addressed that a little bit here. If I had to answer that question in general terms, I'm going to tell you none of them. None of them are good at it. But if I had to pick one that's the best, I don't know. The only one I've had prior to the Pellet Joe that would even play in the searing game was the Yoder YS 640. That's a really big grill. There's a smaller version of it that may work the same way. I can't speak from experience on that. It's the 480, I believe is what it's called. And basically what you're doing in that thing is you're opening a trap door in the heat shield, which lets you cook directly over the fire pot. If any of you people who are watching have a pellet grill that sears extremely well, let me know in the comments, because I don't know the answer to that. I do know that I like what I've seen so far on the Pellet Joe, and we're going to be doing some more with that. So just stay tuned and watch, and we'll see how well this one does. Uh, Craig wants to know, how does a pellet grill compare to a gas grill in terms of convenience? I think we've pretty much covered that also. I think they're fairly equal. They don't, a gas grill is a little more convenient maybe than a pellet grill, because I think a pellet grill needs a certain amount of maintenance to be done between each cook. The Pellet Joe must have the fire pot cleaned out before each cook. You're asking for trouble if you don't do that. Most other pellet grill manufacturers recommend that you clean out the fire pot between each cook. It's helpful to keep an old shop vac handy, and you just pop it open, hit it with a shop vac, and you're done. It takes 2 minutes, and it needs to be done. People who don't do that maintenance on their pellet grill regular enough, they're the ones you see posting about having flame outs, having all kinds of problems. None of every one I'm gonna tell you they just cleaned out the grill, but or their pellets get wet. Pellets getting wet cause problems also. That makes the gas grill the most convenient grill out there. Uh, the You can get away with not doing a whole lot of maintenance on your gas grill between cooks. If you've got a drip pan underneath your gas grill, that's about the only thing that you've got to watch for on that, and you got to watch for your tank to run out of fuel, and that's about it. But on the pellet grill, you got to keep pellets in the hopper. You got to keep them dry. I'd recommend keeping your pellet grills out of the rain, and I recommend cleaning out that fire pot every cook. So it's a little less convenient, but in my world, I'd trade that convenience any day of the week for the flavor benefits you get from cooking over wood fire. Uh, Gas is the cleanest burning fire out there. A properly burning gas grill does not add, the grill itself does not add any flavor to what you're cooking. It does not. The fuel does not provide a flavor benefit to the food. I think if any of you ever watch King of the Hill, old Hank Hill likes to say, "Taste the meat, not the heat," and that's what he's talking about. The gas grill burns that cleanly. Uh, Aaron asks, "What are your thoughts on the Weber pellet grill?" Once again, I didn't want to talk really specifically about specific pellet grills other than the Pellet Joe, but the Weber currently is a grill I'd stay away from, unfortunately. And Weber's admitted they've got some pretty big problems with this grill. The Weber Smoke Fire, I really had high hopes for that grill when I first saw it, and when it did come out, some of my social media friends were getting that grill, and they were testing it, making videos with it, and they were when I'm standing there watching from the outside, it looked to me like a lot of them were making that grill fail. The grill had some design problems, and those design problems opened up that grill for failure. But once you look at that grill and look at what's happening and know where those design flaws are, if you want to, you can avoid them. And these people were not avoiding them; they were promoting them, and they were setting it up for that failure to happen. And I mean, I won't say that that's unfortunate, because yeah, the grill's got a problem that allows those things to happen. They were having some grease fires. There were two problems with the Weber. The way the grill design, it's channeling grease into the bottom of the grill too close to the fire pot. And when there's an excess amount of grease down in there, and you got the fire pot burning hot enough, it'll create a little grease fire in the bottom of that grill. I'm sure if you've ever had a gas grill and put 25 hamburgers on your grill, you know what happens when all that grease starts running down in there. It catches on fire. Uh, it's the same sort of thing with this. In the Weber, in the middle of the base of the rectangular grill, they've got their fire pot, and the Weber pellet grill looks like their gas grills. When you open it up, there are flavorizer bars in there, just like you have in a gas grill, and the grease from whatever you've got. It's dripping down over those flavorizer bars, and it's running down into the bottom of the grill, and it's all channeling towards the center of the inside base of that grill. And what's at the center inside base of that grill? The fire pot. And I saw several videos where somebody would do something like they'd cook a couple of Boston butts in that grill, which are going to load up the base of that thing with grease. And then they say, oh, well, let's go ahead and turn the temperature up and sear some steaks. They said the Weber was going to be a great at searing steaks. So what do you think happens when you crank that grill up to 600 degrees when there's, 4 or 5 pounds of liquid grease floating around the bottom of that grill? There's a lot of sparks coming out of that fire pot, and it catches that grease on fire, makes a mess. It's a design problem. The second design problem they had on the Weber smoke fire was the pellet hopper. It had an incline in the back, and the incline's not steep enough to let all the pellets slide down in there and feed it properly to the auger. And a lot of these smoke fires were having flame outs in the middle of a cook, and it wasn't because of a problem in the fire pot. It was because there was a gap being created at the auger to where it couldn't feed pellets because the pellets weren't sliding properly. It's part of the problem. But Weber's going to fix this. Weber said that they actually issued a fix for the hopper and some other fixes to that grill to the current owners, but Weber said that they're going to make a new version of this grill that's going to be a lot better. So keep your eyes open for that. I had high hopes for that grill. Like I said, I almost bought one. I wanted to bring one home here and see if I could make it do everything I would want it to do, but I just decided not to. We'll see what happens when the new version of it comes out. But today, I'd avoid that grill. Joey wants to know what are the biggest performance differences between the high-end grills and the inexpensive ones. I've pretty much covered that too. The performance differences are minimal until you start talking about high heat searing. Some of the nicer ones get a little hotter than the other ones, and some of them give you some better searing options. But when it comes to cooking everything else, I don't think there's 10 cents worth of difference in any of them. I would put my Traeger Little Texas Elite that I had up against my Traeger Timberline or anything else on something like a Boston Butt. I don't think you can't tell a difference in the product when it's finished. So the performance differences aren't where the money is. It's the other bells and whistles and features that make the price difference. The performance has got nothing to do with it. And Lisa wants to know what pellet brands burn the cleanest. I don't think it's a brand issue. We talked about this already as well. It's the wood that's in the pellet that determines how cleanly it burns. The cleanest burning pellet you're going to find is going to be one that's 100% oak. So that's about all I know about pellet grills. We're gonna learn a little bit more about it. And I hope I haven't bored y'all to death. I haven't really been paying attention to the questions that are coming in on Facebook here because I've had so much I wanted to cover. So if you have a question, post it in the comments here, and I will go back and answer all these questions, and I will answer the ones that you've posted in the meantime as well. So how long have I gone? Man, I've gone 50 minutes plus. I'm tired. It's been a long day here at the house, so we're going to wrap it up then, and I'm going to look forward to getting my cooking game back in gear here now that my vacation's over. I'm looking forward to some holiday cooks. I was actually telling my wife today that I'm going to sit down over the weekend, and I'm going to put together a schedule of everything I'm going to cook in terms of videos between now and the end of the year, because I like to get those videos done early because I don't like to work. I don't like to shoot videos much during December. I'd rather be spending time with friends and family during the holiday season and not worrying about making videos. And I'd rather be cooking to put food on the table rather than to put videos up. So that's what we're going to do. I know I'm going to do a turkey again. I'm going to do that one's probably going to be one of the first videos that gets posted up in November. Is I'm going to do a turkey. I haven't figured out which grill I'm going to cook it on yet. I'm toying between two. It's either going to be done on the Pellet Joe or it's going to be done on the Masterbuilt Gravity. One or the other. I'm not sure which yet. There's an ever so slight possibility that I'll do both, do one on each, but I don't know yet. I'm gonna do a prime rib also because uh, I don't. Uh, I love prime rib. I don't really have. Nobody's got to beg me to do that. But prime ribs are popular at Christmas, and turkeys are popular at Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I've convinced my mom that we're going to have lasagna. That we had lasagna last year at Thanksgiving. We're going to do it again this year, and yeah, turkey's just not a big thing for us anymore. I'm over turkey, but I know how to make a good one, so we're going to do that and make video. But besides the turkey and besides the prime rib, let me know what else you'd like to see. Somebody mentioned a duck or a goose. I may be willing to do a goose again. Maybe. I don't know. We'll think about that. I can get duck and I can get goose, and they're really good if you've never had one. They're all dark meat, and that's one of the great things about it. Flying birds don't have white meat, so it's all the good stuff. The wings and the breasts are just as good as the legs and the thighs. So uh, yeah, we might cook a goose. Um, I'm gonna do. I know I'm gonna do a pumpkin pie, and I'm gonna do my. I got to get my mom's pumpkin bread recipe. I mentioned that before. My mom makes a really good sweet pumpkin bread that's wonderful around to have around Thanksgiving and the Christmas season. And I actually asked her for that recipe. I asked her to email it to me, and I know she got it. So I think she's ignoring me. So I'm gonna have to work on that one a little bit more. See if I can get her to give it up. Uh, I did pumpkin Asiago bread in the past, and it's not as sweet. It's really good, but I want to do my mom's sweet pumpkin bread. Maybe, if we're lucky, I can even get her to do on the video with me. So let me know what you want to see. And guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me on Friday night, but it's getting near my bedtime. No, I actually stay up late on Fridays because I work the night shift on the weekends. So, guys, until next time, it's John Setzler and Man Cave Meals.